Hi Shopaholics! So we've come a long way and we are finally in our last episode. So, my name is Sulat and let's talk about breaking the cycle. Like all self-fulfilling things, the key is moderation. Shopping can make us feel good, but where do we draw the line between retail therapy and a shopping addiction? Well, first of all, a shopping addiction is when one compulsively spends well beyond their means. Shopping addiction is a process addiction or an addiction that is not physically addictive like drugs or alcohol. Many who suffer from this condition actually experience a co-occurring mental health condition such as depression or anxiety, since retail therapy mostly functions as a coping mechanism. It has been discussed in previous episodes the psychology behind this system. So now, let's discuss how do we break the cycle. So, let's recall the role of dopamine in this phenomenon. So dopamine is a pleasure-seeking chemical that is released in our brains. However, according to Stanford Professor of Biology and Neurology, Professor Robert Sapolsky, dopamine is not about pleasure itself, but rather about the anticipation of pleasure. This is why there's more satisfaction when we buy things, and then we regret them afterwards when we receive them. To visualize, here's a chart from Professor Robert Sapolsky who talked about a study on monkeys and dopamine activity. The research was that in a controlled environment, the monkey understands that if they press the button 10 times, they can get food. A red light signals that it is one of those times that they can work in order to get some food. One would think that dopamine levels increase when the reward is received, but this shows that the dopamine actually starts to increase when the signal is presented and actually decreases during the rewarding. In the case of shopping, our signal would be the new products or the advertisements that catch your attention. This leads to the act of buying in anticipation of getting these new products. But when they arrive, dopamine goes down and we actually regret what we just bought. The act of buying is more appealing than the things you actually buy. The want to have things is more exciting than actually having the things you want. To be clear, triggering dopamine isn't necessarily a bad thing, but misunderstanding what the trigger is could cause some long-term damages, mostly to our wallets and bank account. Now, there are some quick remedies we can do. 1. Stick to window shopping. Since we know that anticipation increases dopamine and not the reward itself, window shopping or browsing without buying could potentially entertain you enough without actually having to spend money. But if you can't help it, another thing you can do is pay items in cash. With the current landscape of our economy, e-wallets like Gcash or Maya have made it convenient to store money and conduct transactions without having to hold your money physically. However, that is exactly why it reinforces shopping behavior. Seeing numbers go down on our screen does not always give us the same feeling as seeing our wallets empty. Paying in cash causes friction. Seeing how we drain our finances physically can put into perspective how damaging a shopping addiction can actually be. You have to see it to believe it, and it actually hurts more than we think. Another practice is avoiding online shops all in all. Now, it might be a drastic measure, but online shops like Lazada and Shopee, and even TikTok's TikTok shop, are designed to make people spend money. Mega sales like April's 4/4 or May 5/5 and so on drive impulse buying, since the limitation or the fact that these sales are only today make people spend hastily in order to not miss the opportunity. In prominent online platforms such as TikTok, you can see sellers promote sale prices. Buy them while they're cheap. And often than not, this creates the illusion that we are saving money because we bought something at a cheaper price than they are originally sold. Going back to Professor Sapolsky's diagram, here we can see a significant spike in dopamine. Now, what does this mean? This spike, for humans, is primarily caused by the time element. This element can be socially engineered through the sense of urgency. When we are presented with an opportunity that is once in a lifetime, taking the opportunity is more appealing than missing it. For Filipinos, we would think, ay sayang naman. And the act of not participating or not taking the opportunity makes it seem like we're anticipating regret. So since it is urgent, we don't have the luxury of time to think if we actually need these things. Remember, not spending money saves more money than spending on sales, especially for things that we don't actually need or we don't know if we actually. With this, another practice to be done is listing. Not only listing, but sticking to your list. Listing is planning, and planned behavior opposes impulsive behavior. Planned behavior trumps impulses because knowing exactly what you need gives us perspective on the things that you don't need. We can first list the things that we aim to buy and evaluate whether or not it is a want or a need. Now, it is important here how you define needs. Needs are usually things we use in order to function every day. If an item is something you can live without, you do not need it. Along with this, it is also important to list your budget. Spending well beyond our means is the highlights of a shopping addiction. You must know your limits. All of these things I have suggested are definitely concrete solutions, but they could be band-aid solutions if the need to buy runs deep. We have to understand ourselves better and ask, what does shopping mean to us? While it is ironic to conduct a therapy for a therapy, like retail therapy, CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy is best used to combat impulsive buying and reflect what buying actually means for us in terms of gratification. So let's explore our thoughts and clock the patterns of why shopping is something we think is gratifying. So let's go back to listing our wants and needs. Rachel Stathout in 2024 defines wants as things driven by desire and external influences. It could be as simple as the new trendy items or as complex as social validation. Wants bring temporary joy and may not contribute to long-term happiness or mental health. Needs, on the other hand, are essential for our well-being. It could be emotional support, a sense of belonging, or physical health. You can even check out Maslow's hierarchy of needs that tell us what are the things that lead us to self-actualization or genuine self-fulfillment. Recognizing our needs makes us understand ourselves on a deeper level. Acknowledging these needs and prioritizing them helps sustain our lives. We can try to find a pattern with the things we gravitate to when we shop. What do they represent? Why do we feel like we need them? And from there, we can also find alternatives for shopping. Maybe gaming and socializing with friends can help you. Or maybe exercise in the gym or running outside could be a good alternative. These alternatives are practices that can be sustained and directly help you either physically or emotionally or both. Ask yourself, how are you feeling? Are you feeling drained? Maybe you need something peaceful, like a walk, or catching up with your friends can help. Are you feeling frazzled, or you don't know what to do with yourself? Maybe you need structure. Try to find a routine that works for you, or plot your schedule based on how urgent your things are. Are you feeling bored or numb? Maybe you need to try something new. Try a new recipe or read a book you haven't read before. Evaluating your feelings can help you better understand yourself. And trying other things that aren't shopping can help you discover what you've really been needing. If you don't know where to start, you can try journaling. Start little by little. Try to list your feelings daily and read them over the next day. It could really put into perspective your emotions. And this is important because, as mentioned earlier, shopping addiction can co-occur with other mental struggles. It may take some time, but with proper support from your friends and family, recognizing if you need professional psychotherapy or even financial therapy, the path to real fulfillment becomes easier day by day. So that's all for me. Thank you so much for following us this far, and thank you so much for listening. I hope you all learned something new from us. With that, toodles!